And going straight across to Washington, D.C., where Nikunj Garg, Executive Editor, Times Now, is joining us. Nikunj, you're there just ahead of the Prime Minister scheduled to land there, 3:30 a.m. India time. And the Prime Minister begins his day with meeting 5 CEOs of big companies in the U.S. And apart from that, there is a meeting with Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. How are you looking at the business meetings coming up first with the Prime Minister?
Well, Navika, it's just about scheduling. Let me first show you where we are. This is Washington, D.C. And this is right in my rear. This is the second street behind where the Prime Minister is going to stay at the Willard Intercontinental. I am right now on 16th Northwest, and he's staying on the 14th Northwest. So 2 blocks away from here, he stays. During the day tomorrow, we will take you right there. And the fact is that Prime Minister is meeting most of the people before he moves to White House on the next day at the hotel itself, which is the Willard Intercontinental. So most of the meetings with these business CEOs, the Japanese Prime Minister and others, they would be coming visiting to at the hotel itself. Before, of course, the 2 big elephants in the room, the Quad and the bilateral, happen at the White House, which is also a few blocks away from where I'm standing right now and speaking to. From there also we will take our viewers in the due course of time, Navika.
Nikunj, we also want to know, as far as geopolitics is concerned, what are the big issues on the table when the Prime Minister meets the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, of course, ahead of the meeting with Joe Biden, American President?
Well, Navika, I kept asking those questions to India's ambassador to the United States, Mr. Taranjit Sandhu, this morning. Once I landed, I straight away went to his house, the India House in Washington, D.C., interviewed him, and asked those questions. And he was quite clear about the fact that India and United States of America have a very deep strategic partnership. And anything that happens either in the physical contiguity of these countries or something that has a implication or sort of bearing on the security of these 2 countries, the partnership as such, of course, that partnership now extends into a four-way meeting, the meeting of minds in the form of Quad as well. So anything that have a bearing, so in our context, it is quite clearly the rise of Taliban and the Islamist takeover of Afghanistan. I also asked Mr. Sandhu that, there is a growing global movement demanding sanction Pakistan. So is it all going to be discussed at the Prime Minister's meeting, both in in the bilaterals or otherwise? Mr. Sandhu, of course, is a seasoned diplomat that he is kept on tiptoeing those issues, but it was very clear from his talk and the Foreign Secretary's talk yesterday, Navika, that those are the key issues indeed, and they will definitely be taken up. Pakistan's meddling in Afghanistan, almost Pakistan's invasion of Afghanistan, Taliban's rise, Quad diplomacy, government's concerns apropos rise in Islamic terrorism, and of course a belligerent and bellicose China, which has a direct security bearing on United States of America and its allies like Australia and Japan too.
Well, Nikunj, the issue here is this is going to be the Prime Minister's first meeting, face-to-face meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden. Following that, of course, is the Quad meeting, which is extremely important because there are 4 countries, Australia, Japan, as well as U.S. and India. Japan, on the issue of China, not as euphoric as India would want it to be. So do you think the bilateral with the Japanese Prime Minister will also be something that the Prime Minister will be looking at getting support for India's position against China?
Well, Navika, the fact is that more than what India needs the support of the Japanese or the Australians, it's these countries now who need India's support in this entire alliance, which each of them very carefully, in the face of some very stout objections from the Chinese have been describing as a meeting of minds and not as a military bloc against China. But do remember, Navika, in the past when Quad was put under the cold storage, India was described as a holdout country, but it was not. It was only described by the Western commentators. It was actually the reluctance of the Australians and sidestepping the entire issue of a rule-based Pacific navigation by the Japanese that put the Quad in its first avatar during the time when it started from 2006 and 7 in the cold storage. India, as I said, I repeat myself, was described as a holdout country, but it actually was not. India has always been very clear that irrespective of its physical contiguity with China, it is not apropos India-China bilateral relationship because we can always deal with...
Well, I'll have to interrupt you there. The Prime Minister speaking.
Been an unprecedented disruption and it is not yet over. Much of the world is still to be vaccinated. That is why this initiative by President Biden is timely and welcome. Excellencies, India has always seen humanity as one family. India's pharmaceutical industry has produced cost-effective diagnostic kits, drugs, medical devices, and PPE kits. These are providing affordable options to many developing countries. And we have shared medicines and medical supplies with over 150 countries. 2 indigenously developed vaccines have received emergency use authorization in India, including the world's first DNA-based vaccine. Several Indian companies are also involved in licensed production of various vaccines. Earlier this year, we shared our vaccine production with 95 other countries and with UN peacekeepers. And like a family, the world also stood with India when we were going through a second wave. For the solidarity and support extended to India, I thank you all. Excellencies, India is now running the world's largest vaccination campaign. Recently, we vaccinated about 25 million people on a single day. Our grassroots level healthcare system had delivered over 800 million vaccine doses so far. Over 200 million Indians are now fully vaccinated. This has been enabled through the use of our innovative digital platform called CoWIN. In the spirit of sharing, India has made CoWIN and many other digital solutions available freely as open source software. Excellencies, as newer Indian vaccines get developed, we are also ramping up production capacity of existing vaccines. As our production increases, we will be able to resume vaccine supply to others too. For this, the supply chains of raw materials must be kept open. With our Quad partners, we are leveraging India's manufacturing strength to produce vaccines for the Indo-Pacific region. India and the South Africa have proposed a TRIPS waiver at the WTO for COVID vaccines, diagnostic and medicines. This will enable rapid scaling up of the fight against the pandemic. We also need to focus on addressing the pandemic economic effects. To that end, international travel should be made easier through mutual recognition of vaccine certificates. Excellencies, I once again endorse the objectives of this summit and President Biden's vision. India stands ready to work with the world to end the pandemic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that was the Prime Minister speaking from his new aircraft, Bharat Prime Minister's aircraft number 1, and he attended the virtual Global COVID Summit at which Joe Biden, the US President, spoke just a short while ago. Important points being made there, especially the point about COVID certificates being recognized across the globe. Hope Boris Johnson and United Kingdom have heard the Prime Minister's appeal. That's all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, on the News Hour tonight. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow.